Good morning and welcome to the Weekend Warrior podcast. Today, I will be your host, Ryan Gilley, president of FFL Azimuth, and I have been given the opportunity to interview somebody most of you have probably heard of, Dave Whichard.
Hey, man. Glad to be on Weekend Warrior Podcast. It's good stuff.
So today, I'm excited because I think just taking a second to slow down and listen to your story is really important, right? Because people hear from you all the time, but very rarely do I feel like we actually slow down and talk about from start to finish how you did what you did. Because a lot of times what happens is we look at the situation and people say, oh, look what Dave did. It's insane, but it's not insane because what you did was actually it's simple. It's just a lot of hard work and you did it consistently. So I want to start with you leave your practice company. You come here. Can you just talk us through starting at the very beginning when you made the decision to come over here? Just jumping into it.
Yeah, sure. I think that's pretty simple. I was working with Andrew Taylor, and I'm like, okay, so I've never dialed leads, I've never bought leads, and what do I do? And he says, well, I remember he gave me a few age leads, whatever. All leads are good, that kind of thing. And so started dialing the phone, but I bought leads, right? So hired ten agents, hired 10 unlicensed agents. And so then I had to just go to work, and I just did what he told me to do. And I didn't question it. I don't remember exactly how many appointments I booked, but it was a lot of them. And because that's what he told me to do. And I remember I knew I'd made the right decision because I went out my first 2 days in the field. And I was just talking about this the other day. I went in this house, and so where I came from, I always asked for referrals. And I think one of the things I would mention to you is you're in a house. I always had this care for people that if they were moving in the house, I wanted to make sure they were covered. And so this was life insurance, a little different. I sold a life product, but it wasn't any good, so I couldn't really cover a lot of people. We sold cancer, and, some other products and supplemental door to door. And so it was just different. It was different to sit down and actually dial the phone, instead of just going out and seeing people, scheduling appointments. That was just all different for me. And but I just bought in, like, okay, this is what works. So I remember looking back, it was different. Like it was, just like anybody else, nerves on the phone, whatever. I don't think I really, I just because I hadn't done it, like it was weird. But the thing is, once you understand it's just numbers game, and I think everything I've ever done in my life is like related to sports. Is if you play basketball, I played football, I played a lot of sports, and it was all about numbers and reps and getting better. And so I knew that the faster I went through those reps, the faster that I got more no's, the faster that I got, you know, hung up on, whatever it took, that was how I was going to get better. And that may sound cliche, like, hey, run through the numbers and you get better and better. But the truth is, the faster and the harder you work to go through the numbers, the better you're going to get and better you're going to become. I was listening to Robbie Wells earlier on the phone, and somebody says, man, he's really good on the phone. And I wasn't beating him up, but I'm like, I text this group that was asking me about this, and I said, but he wasn't that good in the beginning. Like, he got better because he went through the numbers, and he's really good. But it took time and repetition and getting better and listening to people. And I just did the same thing. I jumped in. I listened to a lot of podcasts. I listened to everything Andrew told me. I listened to everything Sean told me. And I just went to work. But I struggled just like everyone else. I remember, I think I booked like 8 appointments between Thursday and Friday of that week, and ran on a Thursday, Friday. I was just trying to get going. And I remember writing, I think five policies total, but it was really like 4 of those appointments. It wasn't all 8 that I sold. But in one of those houses, I sold 2 pretty good ones, and then I sold another family a couple. It was multiple policies in every house because I was used to doing that. Like, that person's here. I remember the first call. I don't know his name. I know exactly where his house is. I don't forget that. But I remember his daughter was home. She was sick. Like, she wasn't feeling good, and she had taken off. And I remember, like, who's that? She's like, that's your daughter. I said, does she have life insurance? Oh, she's got it through work. I said, hey, can you come here a second? And she sat down, and I sold her a CBO because I explained to her when she left her work, she wouldn't have anything. And she wasn't married or anything, but I think she wanted to have kids. She was, maybe 28 years old or something. But I cared about her. And then his wife, I said, what about your wife? And he goes, well, she's got stuff, this and that. And I said, well, she came up, and I remember asking her something. She asked me about Medicare. I had no clue about Medicare. But I did find out about it and go back and give her some stuff. And I ended up getting her later on, maybe a couple months down the road. And she had a policy that if she'd have kept it, it would have ran out, like, on her. and we went back and wrote her. So that was like, ended up being 3 policies in one house. But really, I sold 2 that day. They're both Americo. Then I had an appointment on Friday where I sold 2 more, and then I sold another one. So, because I remember telling Andrew, I said, man, I just trusted you. He goes, you trusted me that quick? And I'm like, yeah, because you told me that if I went to work, I bought leads, I dialed the phone, I went out and saw people and didn't overthink it and run Americo every time. And then I would get paid in like a couple of days. And so when I got paid in a couple of days, dude, I was in. Like Katie barred the door, it was over. So I just listened. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, no, it does. But that leads me to an interesting question here. Just listening to you talk about that. I know that you had been doing insurance for a while, but you said a lot of supplemental, a lot of cancer, whatever the case is. Do you feel like your first day coming out into the field with Family First Life, do you feel like you had a complete grasp on every single company and every single product that was out there that we offered? Or did you just go out? I mean, like, talk me through that.
No, I didn't. I had Americo, and I remember I used FFL Go.
Right.
He said, pull this up and figure it out, basically. And so I went into the Americo app knowing that's what I should have wrote first because that's what he told me. And I remember just kind of playing around with it, the CBO and the Eagle and whatever, and trying to figure out the prices, how it worked. I just played with it. Like, I didn't overthink it. Like, I figured it out. And so I knew how to run that. I remember we had Mutual. We run that. We didn't have that, and then a lot of these other carriers. I had that and Moo, and I want to say I had AIG maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I had like 3.
It's like all you need, though.
That's all I really had. I was still waiting on. I think we had Hancock eventually coming, and I don't know. I think that's really all I had. And I think eventually, he's, hey, why don't you get this AMAM? But I think I had 3 products when I first started. I just went to work. We didn't have Prosperity back then. We had none of that. And
so 3 companies. You weren't sure of all the products, but you were watching podcasts. Went out in a weekend. So let's be clear, anybody can do that, right? So I find that really interesting. So can you talk to us about maybe the importance of, you started building immediately, correct? Relatively immediately.
My first 3 months, honestly, I just wrote business. Now let me say this. I played with recruiting. What I mean is, I did what Andrew told me. I reached out to some people I knew. They weren't with my other company, nothing like that. They were just people that I'd either worked for me at some point, or I knew they were in, network marketing, or I knew they were in sales or entrepreneurship or whatever. I just sent emails and I sent over that Rogue IMO video. But I had I like people. And I think I've always treated people fairly and, worked hard. And so there's that sense of respect. And I'm not saying respect. I'm not saying that. But most of the people, hey, I'm going to listen to what Dave has to say.
Right.
Because I never lied to him. I just said, even at my other deal, I was like, hey, this is it. And this is how it works. And so I think they listened, and we had a few of those. And, I got one guy with me today, James Cecil. He's still with me. And he was one of the first, and then a couple others. And they was like, yeah, I'll try it out, whatever. But it wasn't like we were doing anything, because I remember, roll the clock forward, I went to a convention, and there was 4 people in our group. That's it. That wrote business. So it wasn't like I was doing all this mass recruiting. So I think that turning back the clock, I would have done more on social media and things. The reason I didn't do it, because I hadn't really came out. Like, I was in this place of leaving a company I was with a long, long time. Felt like, at the time I didn't leave right away because of friendships and things I thought were there. But the truth is, I was broke. I mean, I was buying, it was a different system. I was making 70%, like, as the highest you could get. Like, I was an agency owner, and nobody was making any money, including me. It looked like I was making money, but it was really just bring a little bit in, pay off, and I was able to live, but that's about it. But I was really just building debt. It was eye-opening to me, and I knew that I could do it. So then I met Sean. I want to say the first time I met him was November 12th of 2019. We were at a meeting in Atlanta, and I remember him coming over the very first time he met me. It's a funny story. And it's funny, at that table, I don't know if I've ever shared this on a podcast, but so at this table, we were sitting there. I think the cool thing about it wasn't a lot of, being a Christian, did I make mistakes? Yes. Do I have a drink? I'll have a glass of wine, whatever. But we came from places that, hey, let's party, that's having fun. Like, where I sat at that table, I had Eric Schmidt to my left. I had John Wetmore and Andrew Taylor, and Sean was right here. Mike Kinlett was there. To my right was John Gavin. And then I didn't know this till just recently. He's a very good friend of mine now. Zach Twardowski was there. He actually came in late, not late, but we were just having like some snacks and stuff. He came around here. But I remember there was a bar over here, and none of them were drinking. And I was like, that's one of the first things I told my wife. I was like, called her. I said, let me just say, I had dinner, Nobody ordered drinks, and all we talked about was I love this, right? And because I think we can get distracted, and it's not that it's if you can control it, great. If you can't, you shouldn't do it. That's my opinion. But I mean, so it was just a big step for me, just being around Sean. But I remember him coming up behind me and goes, first time he met me, man, I like this guy, and he grabs me like which we do now, and he about killed me from behind. I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna strangle me. Eric Smith's to my left, but isn't it funny though? At the time, nobody knew about integrity. He just had done it, and no one knew. Integrity partner, integrity partner. I mean, Eric's about to be integrity, integrity. Now Zach's integrity. John Gavin's about, So looking at that table at that time, like none of us knew that. I remember meeting Ed Terrell at that meeting briefly. Hey, who's this guy? Oh, he works with Sean, and so it was just really eye opening. But I remember also Andrew telling me that day. I'm kind of going down the road here, it's kind of memory lane. Like he said when he'd leave, because him and Sean would leave, they'd fly out, whatever. Which I know how that works now. Then I didn't know where are they going. Like, and they spoke and they left, and he remember him telling me. But I remember shaking Sean's hand, and Sean knew my background. First time I met him, and he shakes my hand. And he goes, Dave, if you ever need me for anything, call me. And I'll never forget that. I got your back, right? And then Andrew told me before I left, hey, I want you to do me a favor. Don't, mingle. Mingling's fine, but don't. But I want you to talk to the people you see on stage. Mm-hmm. I talked to Dominic Rogers.
Right.
Going to be integrity partner. I talked to John Gavin that day. Going to be integrity partner. And I remember talking to Nick Ayala. Never forget that. And I remember Nick telling me, dude, I just worked my backside off. And I left there at that moment knowing I can do that. I can outwork you. Even Nick. I felt that at that time. I love Nick. But if he can work that hard and get where he's at in a couple of years, whatever it was, 18 months at that time, I can do that.
Well, that's the mindset of a competitor, and I think that's really important. But key takeaway there, right? When you're learning in this business, careful who you're learning from, right? Find somebody who's working hard. Find someone who's plugged into the system, doing the right things, and make sure that you learn from those individuals. Not that other people aren't good people, but we want to emulate what's working, right? So another interesting point is, in just a short amount of time that I've been here, and then, you kind of guiding me in the beginning, business changes constantly. Leads, the flow changes constantly with leads. It's like a never-ending circle, right? And I'm sure that I know when I first got here, I started off with nothing but the Facebook leads, and you were even doing this a year or maybe less than a year before I was doing that. So I don't even know how many times it's changed before then. But my question is, you consistently were telling me how to keep the lead flow changing, keep it diversified, or whatever the case is. I look at it like this now. Let's just say you were coaching a football game, right? And you go out there, you get the possession first, run the ball right up the middle, and you just get slammed, stuffed at the line of scrimmage. You're not going to be like, well, great, we can't run the ball for the rest of the game, right? No, you're just going to change it up, try something different. Maybe next series, maybe next drive. I don't know. But is that the same way with leads? I mean, like, how would you describe the way leads have changed for you and the way you stayed on top of that over the course of the couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I did. I started out, he gave me some, CRM leads. I used those, and I continue to use those as well because you could get them. But I remember I used, I set up with EverQuote because it would come in. I figured out that I'm ADD, so one thing about EverQuote is that they would drip in, and I had 20 coming in on Mondays and Thursdays. I never got through all 20 of them, but I had it as a safety net kind of thing. Because what I mean is I got to go to the bathroom, I got distracted, the email or text would come and get me right back on course and actually saved me a few times. So those are like instant internet leads, basically. We didn't have those at the time. And then I used Game Time. I actually used Lead Gurus in the beginning. I don't even know if we talk about them anymore, but I used them, and I had Game Time and Happy Agent, and then I got it down to Happy Agent and Game Time, and I rotated them between Mondays and Thursdays. I'd get 20 to 30 of them. I just wanted to make sure I had as close to 100 leads as I could. And then I think about June or July of 2020, I did get some mortgage leads, and they started coming in. So like the last 4 or 5 months of being in the field, I did have some of those coming in, but it was like they came in for a while, and then they just kind of dripped in where I just didn't get a lot in my area, and I had a lot locked out. So yeah, I mean, it was just when I sat down for a dial day, I just wanted to make sure I had as many possible leads as possible. And you've heard me say this too. The other thing is, you mentioned the football thing. True. If you kept running up the middle and you're getting hit and you can't go nowhere, you're gonna, do a sweep pass, whatever, start throwing the ball, whatever the case may be. You got to change it up. So on a dial day when I was getting beat up just like everybody else, I went through that same thing. But I dialed the phone 15, 20 times and I wasn't moving. I didn't get any anything moving. I thought it was the leads, but it really wasn't the leads. It was just my mindset. So I learned that, oh, I'll just switch over here. And then I get my rhythm, and then I go back to those, and they, be fine. Because then once I knew it was a numbers game, I used the sheet. So for me, it was like a sport. Like I had 8:30. I wrote 7:30 to 8, 8 to 9, and I have them up in my corner. I teach everybody this, and then I just do my little tick marks. And so every hour, I knew how many calls I made, how many people I talked to, and how many I set. And so I kind of figured out my numbers. But at the end of the day, if you dialed the phone and there's no special number, it could, I would say probably a minimum 150 times, 100, 150, and on the high end, 250, 300 in some cases. But the goal is I was just going to get 12, 15 points. That's all I cared about.
Let's be clear. You did this consistently, and you did it with just about every type of lead that's out there. Direct mail, Facebook, CRM. You did it with all of them. So it's not the lead type. It's keeping the lead flow diversified and the work ethic being consistent with it. So I think that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly. I mean, I just work hard. I mean, I know you guys don't. I mean, I think the best thing you'd have to do is interview my wife. She would be able to tell you that. We were riding down the road.
I can pull up my call log from you if anybody wants to see that.
Yeah, and and that's the thing. Andrew says, "Hey," he calls me like 4:30 in the morning because I remember talking to Sean one day. We were on the phone, and he said, "Dude, like you get up early." He goes, "Well, nobody gets up at like. Well, he wasn't like nobody. I was getting up like 5, I think, at the time." He goes, "Well, I get up like 4." I'm like, "Okay, I can do that." I didn't tell him that, but I did it. And then I started, getting up early and taking pictures. So I think the thing you got to understand the power of social media. And guys, look, I'm just normal. I'm a normal dude, just like the rest of you. I mean, I meet people like, man, whatever. And dude, I just listened to everything Sean said, and reflecting back, I did exactly what he told me to do. Invest it back in, hire staff, and you're going to win. That's what happened. And then I was blessed. Eric came on March of 2020. He came on, and I think people thought we just stole this whole company. It didn't work like that. Now looking back, I wished I would have done that, but it was just social media grew our business. And what I mean by this, I posted stuff. I posted the successes we were having, and then people that knew me from the other company would just call, and they were like, "What are you doing over there?" Sometimes they call me, sometimes they call Eric, and we'd get one here and there. Todd came, and then Jim, and just a few of them towards the end of the year started coming, and exponentially, those are guys that weren't afraid of hard work. And then we just started giving people away. I remember him telling me three legs, which is what we have. I have 3 145 legs. That's what I have right now. That's what he told me to get to. That's what we just did. And it's just finding that next person. And then I found those 3 people we trust. So I'm kind of all over the place with this.
Well, I was going to lead into that. You were just talking about, and then we got into building, and you just said, getting yourself staff and investing it back in. Can you talk about like where you did that and what were the things that were so important that kind of structured you for success as far as people that were working with you, business partners, and also your staff structure that helped you get success?
Yeah. So first, with staff, so I hired Aaron Lyles, who's great. He's tremendous. And, he's been with me since day one. I realized he was going to be as good as he is. But I brought him in and, he sat in the office with me and was like, what do we do? What do I do? I'm like, I don't know. But no, I didn't. I knew I was going to figure out something for him to do. Didn't pay him a lot, but he wanted to work with me, and so that was cool, and it worked out. I could trust him, so I had him start calling carriers for me because I hated doing that. And Sean used to say, if it's not making you money, don't do it. That was one thing. It wasn't making me money. It was saving me money. He'd send out a thank you card. He'd call the clients when I left the house, and that helped our persistency. I think I was like 86% with America after 12 months. I think I just saw 76, 78% after 14, which is better than average, which is good. So that worked. Then he would do, I had him message people on Facebook, message people on LinkedIn, call resumes, whatever we could figure out. He was always trying to recruit and reach out to people we knew, didn't know, whatever. And then post all over social media. So we did that. And then a month later, I think it was, we came out of convention. You got to be at convention. So if you're listening to this right now, be in Arizona on I think it's the 15th. That's like a pre-launch thing. Don't miss that. And then go ahead and book your tickets for Miami in February. Get there, and it'll change your life because that's what happened to me. In the meantime, work hard as you can to get as many people to the convention as you can. The more people you come, the faster you grow, and we did a good job of that. But I left February, it was just me and 4 people, and I just went to work. Danielle came on. We posted an ad on Facebook where everything I did, I either heard from Sean or Andrew or I saw it on a podcast. And Sean would always talk about, well, we hire people off Facebook. We don't do ZipRecruiter. Why would I do that when they know people, whatever? And so we did that. We put up an ad. She answered it. She said, hey, and I thought she was playing. But no, she wanted to come back. And I told Aaron, take it down or let's hire her. So she hired her. Then they went, and we weren't growing fast enough. Got to about July. We weren't even EVPs yet. I remember, hey, we need to hire another recruiter. Got another. We had two of them. We couldn't figure out which one we wanted to hire. I said, let's hire them both. So think about that. I'm telling my wife, hey, we're going to pay you another $500 a week, but now it's 1,000. She's like, can we do that? I'm like, we'll do it. That was hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I can show you my bank statements, and guys, I didn't have money. I remember giving. I mean, I'm just telling you this because I learned from Sean and in a person that gives, and talks about giving back. And I remember giving $5,000 to the Dream Center and not having hardly that in my account one time, but I knew God would provide, and I also knew that I would work hard. So I just kept doing that, man. Faith and the right people come. I mean, every time my wife and I sit down, true story, and we have dinner, we pray for God to bring the right people in our business. We've always done that. I still do it to this day. You can ask her every single time I pray, because that's how it is, man. I think we still got to do the work, I mean, David didn't conquer Goliath by just talking about it. You had to pick up something and take care of it, right?
Right.
So, and Sean just said that or sent us something out about that the other day. But anyway, so guys, I'm kind of getting off track there, but I guess I just invested all, and I believed in the system. Our bonus grew crazily, and that's why we're at today. And I projected the same thing in my team, and the team duplicated it. I mean, I can go down the list, Tim Van Summer, and I can go, Ken George, Shane Pope. They were great people that I could trust. Then you have, Will Priest comes on, and you and Ben, and I mean, all these guys just, what are you doing? And they're duplicating. And Ben called me yesterday. He's like, hey, should I do this? I'm like, yeah, dude, I didn't even look at the overrides. Give him that 5%. You don't need, I mean, guys, 3 legs, keep 5%, work your freaking tail off, stack the crap out of people, hire staff. And then we hired another staff, social media in the fall, Brooke. She's been here a year now. So now that's 4, right? Yeah, 4. No, 5. And we're up to 5 at that point. We switched one out, got rid of one, so 5, and then we just hired a 6th one recruiter. I'm thinking about hiring a 7th, believe it or not, just to help out Brooke because I want to do more social media.
Can you talk about the social media actually? Because people talk about they want to recruit, they want to grow, whatever the case is. But I mean, I know that you've had other things that you've invested in and whatever the kind of things. But can you talk about like how big social media was for you in growing this team?
I mean, it's huge. It's everything. Share. Tag. In the beginning, we didn't know what we were doing, just tagging. And then she got good at, so she, we do Instagram. We're doing some TikToks now and, Facebook and things like that. But at the end of the day, people just have to see that. It's not about you. You're not bragging. What you're doing is showing people belief. And so there's people out there looking for this opportunity. And if you put it out there, they're going to find you. And so that's what we did. We just believed in it. And Family First Life's blown up because of social media and podcasts. Andrew Taylor's taking it to a different level. We have Podcast Center. We're in another podcast center here now in Wilmington, Page, and Freddy's. And it's just a big team. So we're super part of it.
All right, well, as we wrap this thing up, to be clear, 2019, November 2019, sitting there for the first time making this decision. November of 2021, this year, anybody that's sitting here, Brian Adams was just talking about this on Facebook. Anybody that's sitting here watching this podcast right now through a computer screen, in 2 years' time, can go from making the decision to put themselves into this business. If you were to speak to that person right now that's sitting there, maybe they feel a little overwhelmed, maybe they feel a little intimidated or whatever the case is, but they can come do this exact same thing. If you could just break down to them 15, 30 seconds of exactly how to do this in the most simple terms, how can that person get to where you are right now?
I mean, I do think it's simple. 6, 7, 8, 10 months, done. And then you're in that conversation. Another year or so after that, you're in that conversation. But it's literally just working your tail off, going in the field. I think leading from the front is very important. But you invested in, you hire good staff, you put all the money back in, and you just keep pouring money on it, man. It's like gas on a fire. If you keep doing that, working hard, find some good people to follow you, find you 3 people, that they're really making that effort every week. They're listening to you. They're teachable. They're coachable, and you can trust them. And then stack the crap out of them, man. Figure out recruiting, buy leads for recruiting, hire good staff, and just grow it. And that's it. And next thing you know, you have a chance at having a conversation with integrity, and that can be real for so many people, and that's clear that that's what they do. They buy agencies. So if you build a big one, it can change your life forever. So thank you, awesome. Sean, Mike, and my life to you, and Andrew for helping us, and we're just changing lives. I mean, my son-in-law, right? Like, does he want to be further ahead? Yeah, it's always about, hey, how do I help my people? So that's the thing, just having that heart to help others.
Awesome. Well, Dave, thanks for being on here. Thanks for pouring into us. I know that this is going to be super helpful. Thank you to everybody for showing up to the Weekend Warrior podcast. Thank you, Sean, Mike, Andrew Taylor, for this awesome opportunity that we have in front of us. Glad you all got to see me today. FFLazimuth.com. Check us out, FFL Azimuth on Facebook, or reach out to me personally, 540-556-3468. Dave, how can they find you?
Oh, yeah. Call me 704-712-4221 or FFL Velocity. Reach out to Ryan and become part of his team. We got a lot of great leaders. So
thanks, guys. Have a good one.